Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 30th of June. Welcome to Viewpoint, Talk Radio Europe's current affairs show with a panel of guests where we discuss the issues of the day with you for the next 2 hours, and I'll be bringing you an hour of Let's Talk as well between 12 and 1. If you want to get your viewpoint across today, then here it can be something national, international or local, whatever's crossing your radar, then these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Joined in the studio by Ale Babapule and Andres Gallardo. Let's have a look at the front pages, though, this morning. First things up, as we always do in the UK. Burnham's bid to transform Britain is it seems to be the main headlines this morning. In his speech, The Guardian said what he put forward is a vision that could bring a country together. Patrick Maguire in the Times calls the address deceptively substantial, but the Sun's Jack Elsom is less generous, saying what he heard was a jumbled word salad with little meaningful substance. Financial Times says while the speech hit the right political notes, it lacked a roadmap for growth. Daily Star uses its editorial to remind readers that while Burnham has set out his vision for running Britain, no one other than members of his own party voted him to be in that position. The Daily Mail leads on reports that Burnham wants to run Britain part-time from Manchester. Friends say he intends to spend a day or two a week there when his schedule allows. Burnham is also reported to be planning to shun a move to Downing Street and only use number 10 when he's working in Westminster. An investigation by The Sun claims that 83 asylum seekers are said to be moved into new build homes worth £250,000 each in Stoke Heath in Shropshire. One local is quoted as saying it's bang out of order. The government insists the move is part of a wider strategy to cut costs and reduce hotel use by 2029. It's a very good life is how the iPaper pays tribute to the actress Penelope Keith after her death at the age of 86. The Guardian salutes her comic timing, while the Daily Mirror says she became part of the fabric of TV. According to the Daily Express, she epitomised the social climbing, curtain-twitching snob, and we adored her for it. And there's intrigue about a floor-length kimono-style dress worn by a Japanese tennis player. Naomi Osaka, on the opening day of Wimbledon, sported the garment. It was imposing, to say the least, as the verdict of the Times. Well, the Daily Telegraph calls the outfit tennis whites, but not as you know them. Right then, so the front pages of your papers this morning. Looking at the front, Metro goes with sparks fly over Andy's radical rewiring. The iPaper. Burnham pledges growth, housing and number 10 North in his vision for rewired Britain. It's coming homes. Burnham's housing ambition. That is in the Daily Mirror. PM in waiting promises massive drive and building of council houses. The Daily Mail. Burnham wants to rewire Britain from Manchester base. The Guardian, Burnham puts number 10 North at heart of bid to rewire Britain. Financial Times, Burnham pledges rewiring of state in bid to spread growth across country. Meanwhile, the Daily Telegraph leads on junior doctors pay to hit £100,000. I've just seen that picture of the kimono. That's quite something. Have you seen this?
I've seen it.
Okay.
I saw it live.
Blimey. Anyway, meanwhile, Daily Star, anyone for PM, nobody chose him either. U2 was the same right as Burnham. They've got to cut out and keep a free mask of Burnham's face. Meanwhile, Britain facing summer of no plan chaos is what the Daily Express says. The Times, Burnham pleads for 10 years to rewire Britain. Meanwhile, The Sun, Migrant Street, 83 asylum seekers moving into £250,000 new builds. And those are your headlines on this Tuesday, the 30th of June.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Viewpoint with you till 12 o'clock, and then I'm with you with Let's Talk from 12 until 1. I bought my A game in. I got my A team. To my left this morning, the lovely Alia Babapule. Morning to you, Alia.
Good morning. I promise I will not make the chair go up and down, and I refuse to do any more hackers.
That was after, yes, if you, listeners will be unaware because it doesn't work well on radio, but last week when a caller said that the world would resemble New Zealand, Alia took it upon herself to start doing the hacker to me whilst you, Andres, were speaking to Alf, and every time I looked over to Alia, she had her tongue stuck out at me and the most disturbing face, which kind of, luckily, like the hardened professional like what I am.
Of course, you just fell off the chair.
I just fell off the chair again. Andres, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Let me just share with you, your listeners, that today, after all these years I've been doing Viewpoint, is the first time I have been greeted in the offices with breakfast.
Well, you know.
Coffee, Madalenas. Offered also a...
That's a cake, by the way, for the rest of you.
Caracola.
That's also a pastry.
Very nice. I hope that becomes, a must every Tuesday.
We should be doing kippers. We should be doing kippers, Kennegree, obviously, as well. Somebody once said that the best meal in the UK is breakfast, and I've found that if I'm staying in that there London, go and get a decent breakfast. You know, if you go to one of the hotels, even better. I mean, if you can do, I don't know.
You should eat like breakfast like an emperor, lunch like a king, and dinner like a pauper.
Well, I tend to, my breakfast.
I tend to do everything all over the place anyway, so I take no blindness of notice.
Eat breakfast like an emperor. So basically, I don't know, subdue your enemies, behead, impale them on spikes, that sort of thing.
That's it.
Yeah. Now,
Moving on.
I'm just amazed that we've got. I'm just amazed we've got Andres here ahead of because it's Wimbledon week. I thought you would have been. Just
in time to see the first match of the day when we finish.
Yeah, right. So let's look at. I mean, obviously, at the moment we've got several things I want to touch on. I'm going to look at the response to Venezuela as well. What we've seen there, devastating since we last met. We've had the horrendous scenes coming out of Venezuela. We have the interesting scenes in Spain as the plan to grant temporary working visas to what was estimated to be 500,000 undocumented workers here have gone somewhat awry. There's 1.3 million of them have now gone, and that's put some pressure on the services. But I want us to kick off with since again the whole situation. I mean, Alia, you were somewhat appalled with the way that Sir Keir Starmer had been treated by the Labour Party the other week, and the fact that Andy Burnham seems to be a shoo-in. It's very much. I mean, we been used to sort of lame duck prime ministers and dead men walking, Sunak, Truss, etc. And perhaps you have to feel a little sorry for Sir Keir Starmer because nobody is looking at him, and everybody's looking at Burnham, and obviously he makes this speech yesterday about this rewiring, and when he said check this out, although it's to that effect, number 10 at North. Alia, what did you think yesterday?
I listened to that. He's not saying anything new. I mean, a lot of the things which are already being implemented, he's been burbling about. I think burbling, that's a new word on here. It's an engineered by-election to accommodate him. There's no process to elect him party leader. There's no questions being allowed from journalists. There's no parliamentary scrutiny until September. And quite frankly, I think something is very wrong about the installation of Burnham as PM. It's wrong. The whole scenario is wrong.
However, if you go, I mean, obviously, other parties, Kemi Badenoch was on yesterday saying that, this isn't going to work out, and she's calling for a general election. Reform are obviously calling for a general election because they know if they do that at the moment, they might have a stab of getting in. Getting into number 10, and you kind of have to wonder: should we be calling a general? Would you be happy? You see, there we go. You wouldn't be happy if they called a general election now, Alia.
I don't think you need it.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. What I was very upset about, looking at one of the people who Burnham is going to use as his right-hand man, so to speak, he's a tremendous advocate for Israel. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what there is going on over there, it's not particularly a pretty spectacle, shall we say. So the thing is, you have to look at people who want to put him in, and or he wants to put in. And I don't see anybody which is really going to do anything for the country. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't look very good.
Do you think it's all smoke and mirrors and pizzazz then? And look at me, I'm wearing a suit with a T-shirt.
It's an ego trip. It looks like an ego trip. You've kicked out a man who was trying his best to do something for the country. If you agree or not, and I would say this always through every party, if someone is doing their best to do them, let them get on with the job. You don't turn around and stab them in the back. You try and work out something which is beneficial to the PM to carry on doing it, and to also for the country. What he failed miserably, I think, in the whole mess that is that the communications director, Lisa Nandy, was doing a terrible job of getting out everything which Keir Starmer had done over the way. And I'd say that for any party in that same position. It was backstabbing pure.
What I find quite amusing, Andres, is the way that people are going, this is a revolutionary, this picture re-one of the UK, shift power out of London. We live in Spain. And obviously here the autonomous regions, the autonomous regions have had these powers since for 40 years.
40 years, I think we have to take these back to the seed that was planted when the local elections were so disastrous for the Labour Party. We mentioned it last week. I think the MPs went onto panic mode, and they got the right to do so, the parliamentary system where they can replace the Prime Minister. It's funny that they were criticising the Tories for just keep doing that during the time in government, but now they are doing it. Is that going to solve anything? Not really, because they already had a massive majority in Parliament, so they could govern with ease. It's not like in other parliaments in Europe where they have to negotiate every single thing they do. They have to negotiate it, and most times doesn't go through because one wouldn't agree. In the UK, it's very clear. The Labour Party can do as they like because they've got a majority in Parliament. Now, I think this panic mode that some MPs entered and was contagious to the others, to say we need to change the leader. This is all happening because Keir Starmer's not doing well. Is he not? Is this guy going to do better? I don't know. I listened to what he had to say yesterday, and I think that it was a speech that had no detail. It was very encouraging. You listen to it and you think, oh, well, yeah, the guy seems to want to do things, but there was no detail into it. No. And it's all down to detail when it comes to policy to be able to develop. I mean, you can say, oh, I'm going to... I always remember Theresa May announcing that she was going to build 300,000 houses. And I thought, yeah, nice thought, but how are you going to do that? Where's the detail on that?
Where's money coming from?
Yesterday was a little bit like that,
yes,
announcing all these things. He means well, by all means, but there is very little attention to detail. So yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for him to deliver all the things he wants to do. Devolution is something you have to be, in principle, is something that is very good because you are taking the management of policy to a more regional situation where you're supposed to know more the real problems of the local people and everything else. But look at the problems that we've had in Spain for 40 years, yes, where you doubled up on legislation, you spend a lot of money on administration that you could be wasted money. They blaming each other all the time. Say, no, this is not our responsibility, this is central government. And central government says, no, that is the regional government. And so it's not so easy to manage as perhaps Andy Burnham thinks is going to be. So you have to be careful with that as well. So all in all, I think that it was a positive attitude to start with, but we'll have to wait and see. We might find ourselves in 18 months' time, the Labour Party don't recover on the polls, and then there's got to be another revolution, then they'll find another Prime Minister, and then we're back again where we are today. That's my fear. I'm not saying it's going to happen, because I haven't got a crystal ball, but hey, it could well happen.
Looking at some, I mean, if you didn't hear the speech, he promised Britain's biggest rebalancing of power, saying that he'd build more social housing, give local governments more control over water and other utilities, and take on a cost of living crisis, all while sticking to the current government's fiscal rules. To standing ovations, Burnham again said his blueprint would be based on his work as Greater Manchester Mayor of North Western England, where his focus on delivering promises meant getting businesses, local politicians and community groups involved. And in a pointed comment to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, who said he was stepping down last week, he said he'd end the business-as-usual approach to politics, which he described as failing to lift the living standards of so many in the country. I mean, one of the things that struck me, if you remember when Sir Keir Starmer took over, and he said that, his first speech was saying things that, look, things are going to get much worse. Yeah. This is going to be, before it gets better. And
I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it may have been what actually needed to be done. But the problem is that people don't want to hear that. They want to hear about sunny uplands and the whole situation. Even if you are going downhill, in a flaming jalopy, you want to hear. However, I'll get the brakes fixed before we go over the edge of whatever, and this is what and this is Burnham's come in all they say all eyelashes and dazzling teeth, and people have got this. Excuse me. And people are going for what is described as Richard has so succinctly put it on the WhatsApps as the dead cat bounce, which obviously is the fact, dead cat bounce. If you throw a dead cat off the top of the NatWest Tower, it will bounce before it falls back again. So
I think that first speech of Starmer saying things are going to get worse before they get better, after the mismanagement of 14 years of Tory rule, people then eventually went and voted Labour. Whether you like it or not, they won the election, and how they won it, that's irrelevant. They won it and won it massively. If you were a Labour voter that day, you would have been so disappointed because you weren't there to vote thinking, yeah, come on, they're going to change things, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and then the first thing you hear from Starmer is, oh, things are going to get worse, and you think, what?
But the thing
I was just so happy I voted for you, and you're telling me that it's going to get worse when it can't get any worse than what it was then.
I agree with you, Andres, at what you're saying completely. However, people have to take a step back and think. If you've got a system which is not working, you have to go backwards to try and find where the rot is to get that out before you can make things better. And people don't want it. They want a quick fix. They want, I'm coming in, I'm going to wave my magic wand and everything will be hunky-dory. It doesn't work like that. You have to, if you've got a clogged up pipe somewhere in your house, you have to get all that filth out before the fresh water can go through. And it's the same with what Starmer says. People didn't think of the hidden meaning of it. But the thing is, he's extremely subtle in what he says in an awful lot of things. And it doesn't go over with the public because they're not capable many times of understanding the meaning behind the words.
Yeah, but
would
you say that nearly 2 years? It's been nearly 2 years.
2 years.
Do you think that that's not a reasonable amount of time to be able to show your achievements and your improvements in the country?
All they had to do was go and look it up, which is what I've done. That's
but I think what stuck in the public was things like the fuel allowance and the national insurance and all of these negative things that they... that was stuck in people's head to say, well, we wanted big change and all we found is stumbling and U-turns and the kind of policy that, I know they've done things and you listed them very nicely before, but what the hell? Of course they had to do something otherwise, but there are key policies there where they stumbled and they made people concerned that things weren't going to improve, and the reflection of that was those local elections where they lost ground.
Okay, absolutely. And I'm going to come back again to say the communications from 10 Downing Street to the public in general was lousy. It wasn't enough. When you've got today with social media and every single possibility to put out the good and the bad, then for God's sake, use it. And it wasn't being used. And I've said many times, the communications, unfortunately, from Number 10 was terrible. And it boils down to the communications director, who was Lisa Nandy. She wasn't doing her job. I think if a lot of people had understood what Keir Starmer was doing, they would have realized the man was working for the good of the country. He is incorruptible. He's never been in a scandal. He's a clever man. He's a King's Counsel now. He was Queen's Counsel before. The man has a brain, and he was working not for himself. He was working for the UK. But it wasn't being put out enough. I had to dig to go and find out what exactly was going on behind the scenes. I had to dig. But it's all there. But they needed to shove it out into the open, and it wasn't getting done. It's unfortunate.
952 78 4000 is the phone number. Studio at TRE.radio is the email. To the WhatsApps we go. So good morning to you, Richard. The media will make up their own you-know-what as per usual, so why bother to attend to them to write when they write and tell their own narratives? Andy Burnham will deliver a dead cat bounce, mainly because there won't be much change. He's got sent me a poll which says, under a new Prime Minister, will things get better, stay the same or get worse? Get better, 17%. Stay the same, 44%. 21% think it. 21% think it will get worse. That's an OP poll. In other WhatsApps coming through this morning, they say the following. Julie, excellent summonation by Alia. I'm all sorry. Ooh,
thank you.
I'm also concerned about the Josh Michaels connection. And Paul comes in. I tell you what is wrong. See, I like it when people start with that. I'll tell you what is wrong. Certain sections of the UK media pushing their self-serving narratives, frothing at the mouth, rather than reporting and holding politicians to account. They're already whinging because Burnham took no questions during his speech. They are not impartial. Ooh.
No, they're not. If you listen to what BBC has been doing for the last God knows how long, they're all completely
the Mail's going on about coups and the Mail's got lost it completely.
It's important that kind of, you have to read through all that. I mean, people have, and I'm sure they're intelligent enough to be able to know who's got an editorial line and who hasn't, and you have to read them all and sort of make up your mind on what you cannot just follow one newspaper articles 100%, because this obviously is going to be biased. But you need that information, as well, the information from other sources, to be able to have a clearer picture. I understand the media, they are defending their interest in the different corners where they're positioned. It's down to the consumer of the news to be able to make up their minds, and I always believe that.
Have you seen who is backing the big news outlets? It's all right-wing billionaires.
Yeah.
I had to dig on that too to find out who's all of them.
Looking at so opposition parties were quick to question. There are. Streeting said, finally some hope again. Streeting is becoming. It's like Wormtooth. He's like, oh yes, absolutely. I think yes. I'm in the background. It's like because he suddenly he was prancing around.
How was that?
Yes. Prance is, as if to quote Withnail, prancing around like a tit. Anyway, he's up there at top field, but prancing around like a tit. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. He said, Streeting's like worm tongue. He's like, absolutely, yes. Because he thought he was going to be the Prime Minister. Now you just have to look and think, Streeting, really? I mean, he looks like that kid at school. So moving swiftly onwards. And so that's why, this is why, somebody like Burnham gets sort of parachuted in and he's got charisma, which is always a word that I, look at.
I don't think he has.
You don't think Burnham's got charisma?
He looks like a plate of uncongealed porridge.
What is it with you and porridge?
Nothing. It's just I like.
Every time they got porridge. People can't read through Turks coming over here, Andres. The electorate are morons. Remember that always. Don't know why Sir Keir Starmer bothered with the WFA, given the cost was peanuts at 125 billion a year. Having said that, if those moaning about not having stopped it buying the Daily Fail, they could afford to pay their fuel bills. There was an important difference. He said council housing, not social housing. So are you saying, Giles, that people want comforting lies over unpleasant truth? truths. No wonder the UK is a basket case. People are indeed short-termists, and more so now as they're ultra-impatient rather than even short-termists. Yes, you're nodding sagely. Here we go. Another thing to add to the mix of removing Starmer. This is from Dawn. Good morning. The latest intake of backbenchers are worried about their jobs. I agree with Alias. Comms very bad under Starmer leadership. Richard, 1.25 Giles, not 125 billion Giles. FFS. I will block you, Richard, if you speak to me like that again, because it's my show, yeah, and I will block you. So just to let you know, 952 78 4000 is the phone number. studio@tre.radio is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Europe. Back after this.
Viewpoint.
Always live.
Giles Brown.
Thank you very much. Always live, always lively. On the back of Burnham's, we're looking about Burnham's speech yesterday, joined in the studio by Andres and Alia. As I said before, Streeting said some hope again, but the list of problems he has to deal with, Burnham has to deal with. Dubbed the King of the North, he faces the same constraints as Starmer: anemic economic growth, the rise of populist politics, a cost of living crisis, and very little room for manoeuvre because of fiscal constraints. Opposition parties, obviously in the UK, quick to question why Burnham said he had failed to take questions at his first substantial policy outing after being returned to Parliament. He doesn't have a plan beyond telling the mayors to go and sort it out, said Kemi Badenoch, Conservative leader. If he wants to be leader of our country, it's time to start acting like it. Richard Tice of Reform UK described this speech of more evidence of Burnham's coup, referring to the lawmakers' likely elevation to power without a national vote. We need a general election, he said on X. We need a general election. That's what Tice is going for.
It's quite interesting, the parliamentary system in the UK, where if you have to replace an MP, you have to call for a by-election. But to replace the Prime Minister, you don't need a general election. You can do it. I mean, the system is within the Constitution, so the system is the system, and those are the rules. So you accept it. But it's shocking to think, okay, so if you're an MP, they have to vote for you. If you're a Prime Minister, you can, sort of, as long as you maintain the manifesto and everything else. But we'll see how much of the original manifesto will be maintained by Andy Burnham. Will he stick to the original one, or he's going to start changing things as he goes along? If he does that, then maybe calling for a general election is the right call. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I don't think Andy Burnham, with all of his babbling and talking about what he wants to do and everything, he's going to find it's not as easy as he thinks it's going to be.
Oh, no, for sure.
Absolutely no way. And if he thinks he's just going to ride in on a huge wave of love and free whatever, he's got another thing coming when reality kicks in and he's going to try and implement whatever he thinks he's going to implement. It's going to be a different kettle of fish.
And what worries me about that is the very little detail that was given to start with. None. So when he goes to implement some of the things that he's announcing, is going to find that it's not as easy to implement, like devolution, for instance. There's no an infrastructure created to be able to have a substantial devolution because the country is not designed for it. So all of these things, he's going to find them difficult to implement, if at all. So the fear is, are we going to be here in the same position in a year's time, 18 months' time, because it hasn't been able to deliver all this excitement that exists now?
Right then. I mean, then we could have people saying, okay, well, now we need a general election. Excuse me. And who knows where we could be at that point. I've got a poll running on Talk Radio Europe Official. I'm asking, do you think Andy Burnham's plans for a devolution of powers in the UK is a viable option? 66% of you think yes, 34% of you think no. So if you want to get to that viewpoint or anything across, then these are indeed the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
This one in. No one seems to be perturbed by number 10 North. It sets a ridiculous precedent as each Prime Minister can move to number 10 wherever they live. If you're going to move some government debts, it should be to Birmingham. It's England's number 2 city. So that's the thing, because, to say that, he's going to run the country part-time because he's in Manchester. I mean, that's a bit of southern snobbery, if you ask me. Because when I was at school back in the day, we used to look at Spain and go, you see, Madrid is perfectly placed because it's right in the centre of the country, and so easy to. That's why going to Barcelona is such a pain if you go.
But all countries have got, especially big countries like Spain or Italy, where I used to live. You see the differences between north and south. And different regions are, you've got the Lombardy in the north in Italy, and then you got Naples in the south. In the UK, you've got the same situation. In Spain, you got Extremadura and Andalusia, which traditionally have been the poorest areas of Spain. You've got the Basque Country and Catalonia in the centre of Madrid. So all that is normal to have, because obviously the geography changes and infrastructures change and everything else. What is important when you talk about evolution is you have to create an equal opportunity country everywhere. And that's what in Spain was tried with the autonomous regions, But now we see that over the years things have been changing, and you see that places like Catalonia or the Basque Country are more prosperous because they've got better deals with central government in exchange for the weight in votes in central government. And then other parts of the country are less funded because they don't have that, sort of importance in the world of politics, either because they have less resources or less population. So that's why I was saying at the beginning that Andy Burnham has to be careful with devolution, because it's quite treacherous to be able to maintain the whole country equal in terms of funding, opportunities, and everything else. It's not that easy to say, it's not going to be easy. So, and there's got to be, and that is something that would take more than the 3 years left in his mandate. That's going to take much longer to implement. So that's a difficult one to announce, I think.
I was just looking at where the middle of France is, because that's a huge country.
Right,
also.
yeah.
Massive. It's Clermont-Ferrand.
Yes.
And Bruges. But I cannot.
Bruges?
Borg, not Bruges, Borg.
Yeah.
And I can't see that, the central government would be moved over there, beautiful as it is. It's all very well to say, we're going to do this, we're going to move the seat of government or part of the government up there, and then we'll do the rest down in the south. As you said, Andres, it's... And me, when I said...
They don't have a devoluted system. They've got the regional powers.
Yeah.
But
Paris or bust.
But Paris controls the whole thing. Yeah. In Spain, we have completely the opposite system, where there's a lot of devolution. Which is the better system? It's difficult to say. For some things, I would say it's probably the Spanish system. For other things, maybe the French system works better. I don't think there is a perfect system to run the country. You're always going to find someone who's not happy about something. The real politics and the real good politicians are the ones who can take decisions and go through them, and you know that at some point you're going to upset someone, but for the good of the country you do it because it will benefit the most, and that's what I consider a good politician. If you start saying I won't look after the most, but it's in my interest to help that corner of the country because I get more votes or more, that's when the whole system falls apart. And that's happens in Spain, when you sort of give so much to the Catalans and the Basques and don't give to the others, simply because it's in your interest, in your personal interest, in your party's interest to do so, rather than the general interest of the population. And that's where the problems arise.
looking at some of the stuff coming in. Morning, Giles and panel. This is from my man in D in London. Morning, Giles and panel. Your colleague suggests Keir was stabbed in the back. Didn't Keir do this to Jeremy Corbyn? I spend a lot of time around their constituencies and in Kentish Town and Holloway, and I've never seen Keir about in his favourite restaurants, Rosselli's, who do a mean bruschetta, by the way, the local Southampton Arms, or even this weekend's festival in Hampstead Heath. Whereas Jeremy is always about. I saw him last Sunday at the grandkids football. We talked about bikes in Epping Forest this week. He visits most Sundays. It's not working. In my modest opinion, IDS is about the local area. It was... in my MP, IDS is okay. People vote for who they see doing good in their own constituencies. Have a good day. I'm off for a walk down Portobello Market. So
very nice too.
Very nice too.
Indeed.
Very nice.
Now that the temperatures are more bearable in the UK.
Yes. So, if you want to get your viewpoint across, then these are indeed the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Yes, indeed. Those are the numbers. We can get in touch with us. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. The poll at the moment that I've got running saying, do you think that Andy Burnham's plans to devolute powers is a viable idea at the moment? What we are saying here is 60. I'm asking a question. 66% of you think that it is a viable option, and 34% of you think that it isn't. So if you want to get your viewpoint across on that one as well, I'll give you those numbers one more time.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right then, looking at other news or the other things that are crossing my radar. This is so several NGOs, non-governmental organisations in Spain are urging undocumented migrants to register in a final push for the mass regularisation process. Attracted over 1 million people. Now, this is the plan. Well, Andres, you can explain, but this is the plan put forward by Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, because we know there's a black economy in Spain. We know that the idea is to get these people in the system, not to give them residency, but give them a year temporary residency or working visas, get them paying into Social Security as they strive to become sort of documented and able to put into the economy, and therefore, it's a win-win for everybody. But of course, they thought they were going to get 500,000 tops, and at the last count, 1.3 million.
Yeah, you've explained that very well, Giles. The idea was we had a number of people in the country illegally trying to find work or working in the black market and so on. So the government thought, okay, if they are already here, let's give them the option to regularize their situation so they can get jobs, legal jobs, and enter the system, pay the taxes, the Social Security, all of the things that will only be a benefit to the economy and they integrate into society. That was the theory behind it. They did an estimated number of people who would, because this was a window, you had to be here before certain days and for a period of time that you could prove that you've been here and everything else. The calculations from government came out of 500,000. Now, the last police report, which are the ones processing the papers and everything, is that nearly 1.3 million have taken the... It's a big difference. So the government have got the the policy to say, let's integrate these people in. The opposition against it, they say, okay, it's all very well and good integrating people here, but that needs to be accompanied of a big investment in infrastructures in terms of health and education and housing and everything else, because we are bringing in real terms 1.3 million into the system with all the rights that any other citizen will have. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, I'm still debating whether it's good or bad, but that's there on the table, so anyone can decide whether they like it or not. The other day I was talking to someone. This is quite interesting, and that's a question I'm going to put to you, Alia, now that I've got you here. Just imagine this situation. You climb the fence of a train station, you jump on a train without a ticket, you sit on the train, and then the train manager at some point, this train goes from Malaga to Madrid with a stop, only one stop in Cordoba, right? So the train manager goes to you and says, Alia, can I have your ticket? And you said, I haven't got one. The question for the train manager is the decision, because you explain to him, well, I'm going to Madrid because there I've told that I can get a job, and then if I get a job next time I take the train I can buy the ticket, but at the moment I have no money and I'm going to use the train. So the question for the train manager is, the train is going to Madrid anyway, the guy is here anyway, let him through, or the rule says the guy who has no ticket has to get off the train and get a fine, and next stop is in Cordoba, he gets off and we'll send a fine to the guy. If you were the train manager, what will you do? Because this is the same situation as we find here with the immigration situation.
It's 6 of one and half and dozen of the other, isn't it? If you do this thing, you're maybe right. If you do that thing, you're maybe right as well. I don't know where I would put myself, probably saying, at the moment, as the law stands, you have to get off the train. As the law stands. What I personally might feel is let him go to Madrid, sort his papers out, and we'll find him afterwards. But we have to take what the actual law of Spain says, which is if you're undocumented, you can't do certain things. I have a question for you. When these people are going through the process, do they become residents or do they become...
No, they get a permit to be able to work. It's I think it's probably similar to the green card in the US. Fine. I don't know how that works, but it's probably something like that. You get permission to work.
So it's not residency.
So, no, but you acquire some rights as well. So you can register, with a doctor, and then you have a GP, and then you can refer, Because at the moment, in Spain, you got universal health.
Yes.
But if you're not registered with a doctor, you only can go to an emergency service to be dealt with, so you cannot have a medical trajectory, if you like, or a medical follow-up and as such. So that gives them that right. So the argument here is that are the systems and infrastructures prepared for 1.3 million people, or are we just hoping that they're all healthy and they don't have kids to go to school and everything else? And
which is not the case.
And they're already allocated in homes, so they don't need to find further accommodation, which is very stressful in Spain at the moment. It's difficult. On the other hand, we have seen that the affiliations to the social security in Spain have gone up through the roof. You've got more people working because all these people, of course, as soon as they get the papers, they find a job. So they are in the system, contributing in the system. So that's a positive side to that. But then there's the negative side. We need to find the balance to see where does that spreadsheet take us.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, it's difficult. That's why I said you can't make up your mind on this one, because you see the benefit on one side and you see the problem on the other.
And so it's the lines we go. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please? Ah, yes, we're being called by the aliens from Smash, if you remember those adverts in the 70s. Hello, caller.
can't hear anything.
That is absolutely. It's the aliens. Remember that advert for Smash? Did you have Smashed Potato? Do you remember this? No. Okay, so Alia and I know exactly what we're talking about here. I'll have to show you during the break. But unfortunately, it was these aliens who looked at the Earthlings making mashed potatoes and Smash, which is probably banned now, I would imagine, under the Geneva Convention or whatever. Because you didn't like porridge. If you don't like porridge, Alia, then Smash has got to be right down there.
I actually do like eating porridge.
You do?
The thing is, looking at it as a plate of food which is put in front of you, it's not very appetizing looking, is it? It's
obviously,
a sort of...
Goldilocks and the Three Bears had obviously had a huge effect on your childhood.
Obviously.
Let's go again. Morning caller, you're like, no, that's still not... No, that's not coming in. Yeah, that's us being blocked by Radio Free Bosnia, obviously. No, I know we're laughing, but that's unfortunate. It might be. I will have to check if it's whose end that's a problem with. Luckily, anyway. But no, Smash Potato. See, we go for everywhere here. We'll come back onto the thorny issue of is this a good thing to have people paying into the system? I mean, you would think so, but at the same time, I mean, we'll come on to that in the second half of the show. I mean, is this because people are going, oh, that's just Sanchez trying to get votes, and it's not exactly, because it's not. You're not going to get the right to vote. Are you?
You don't get the right of vote on this particular one. There is another one where you do get the right of vote.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, this is a debate for this morning. Actually, I was listening much earlier on, and this is the law where if your parents or grandparents had to leave the country for political reasons or for economic reasons or whatever. I'm
holding the yellow. It's not a yellow card.
Even for sexual discrimination.
This is yes.
Even for sexual discrimination, your grandchildren can then claim the Spanish. They claim the nationality, so they could be. The only thing is that for sexual discrimination, I don't think there'll be many descendants. But anyway, for the others, they will be. Sorry,
that's the yellow card coming out.
No, I understood what you mean.
But yeah, I mean, they said, well, these people were stripped of their nationality. So automatically, it shouldn't have been stripped, so automatically their descendants will be Spanish anyway. So they're given that Spanish nationality. These people, okay, they may live in Spain, they may not live in Spain, or never been to Spain. They could be in Australia all their lives, the grandchildren of these people, but they would automatically get the right to vote in Spain because they've got a Spanish passport. So that's a different debate, because those people, they do have, so the opposition parties are saying that that's some kind of trickery because that would give more votes to the Socialist Party. But my question is, how the opposition know how these people are going to vote if they vote?
Yeah,
you can't say, oh, they're all going to vote.
Thank you, Sanchez, because you vote. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that.
I don't think it works like that because certain circumstances will definitely. You sort of define your vote, but no, there is this big debate.
I was granted the right to vote by Senor Sanchez, coming over here illegally first. So now I'm going to vote for Vox to keep all those illegal immigrants. Hang on a second, no. It's
So they're different debates, different positions. I'm just laying them there on the table. Your listeners can sort of think.
It's a good thing you're talking about. It makes a lot of sense. You need to get these things out into the open also.
Yeah, but the two different things. One is regularizing illegal people already in the country.
Yeah.
The other one is just this right to be Spanish if your ancestors were Spanish and they had to leave the country for political reasons mainly.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for everybody sending me the Smash Robot memes now that are flooding into my social media. Hello, Giles, can you hear us? Yes, indeed. Right then, I'm doing silly voices today. Right then, coming to the end of the first half of this morning's Viewpoint. In the second half, if there's anything you want to get across, it can be international, national, or local, then I'd love to hear from you today. Keep it civil, because I'm in a blocking kind of mood today, so therefore you've been warned. Stephen Richard, of course, will be following me at 1 o'clock. To the news we go, and then back for the second half of this morning's Viewpoint.
Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests.
Viewpoint.
Always live, always lively Viewpoint with a panel of invited guests discussing the issues of the day. If you want to get your viewpoint across, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo and Alia Babapule, of course. If you want to get if you want to get across to me, let me know what is crossing your radar. Then I'd be delighted to hear from you. Since we were last together, huge international story. Obviously, the tragic earthquakes in Venezuela. Official counts are saying over 1,400 have been killed, 138 Spanish amongst them. Those figures are expected to, of course, rise, with some people saying they've put models in the computer and it's going to come up at over 10,000. It's, just looking at the scenes, absolutely desperate scenes. We know that Venezuela had sanctions. It's obviously at the beginning of the year. It was across all the all the international news because of the removal of Maduro by the Americans. Andres, your thoughts on the situation and the way that it's been unfolding. I mean, the only positive we can take out of this one is perhaps the speed at which the international community acted to get stuff over there.
Yeah, I mean, any natural disaster is absolutely horrible. You know, when you see the devastation of an earthquake or flooding or anything like that, it's absolutely. That's any natural disaster is horrible for the people who lose everything in minutes, literally. You're right to say that the international response of teams being sent there to help out and everything has been quite amazing from many countries, including the United States. We were supposed to 10 minutes ago, they were their enemies, but they're not. Spain have been, they've got very good rescue teams. I was learning about the rescue teams from the firemen and the section of the army as well. They've been to Turkey, they've been to other places where there's natural disasters, and apparently they're very good. The dogs are very good, which is
a wonderful job.
And yeah, but the devastation has been terrible. It shows the lack of direction that the country has got, how they have misused the natural resources, and they haven't been able to invest in quality infrastructures there. And the proof is that in a natural disaster like these, 7.2 earthquake, if you had the same in Japan, for argument's sake, the devastation would be minimal, where in Venezuela has been a maximum, if you like. I mean, I know the official number is 1,500 dead, but I mean, apparently there's a website where there are as much as 50,000 people missing, and if you're missing after so many days, the likelihood is that you could have easily been killed by the earthquake. It's a terrible situation, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get back to normal for these communities. The amount of investment needed is incredible. The country is broke. The political system is not working, and it's going to be very, very hard to rebuild or to get to a normal life and rebuild to the standards that are needed for an area that is in a plate, where there are recurrent earthquakes. So, very, very tragic. All I can say, for all it's worth from here, is that, hopefully they'll find more people alive, and people can get back to normal as soon as they can. Very, very difficult. It's going to take a long time, and I think it's terrible. There's a lot of Spanish people. We said this before when we were discussing the political situation. It's a country that is very close to Spain in terms of the Venezuelans who live here, the Spanish who live there, the business interests from Venezuela and from Spain in the country. So it's a very close link. That's why the media has been reported, and perhaps in Spain more than in other countries, because of that close link that we have with the country. And I wish them the best.
Of course, the language as well.
The language, of course, yeah.
But at the same time that was going on, horrific as it was, there was another one, a huge, massive earthquake in Japan, 6.9 on the Richter scale. And we heard practically nothing of it, probably because we're so used to having Japan having earthquakes, which is really crass from what I'm saying, but if you understand what I mean, we get used to these things, we get immune to that happening over there, and when it happens somewhere else, it's awful. Look at the earthquake in Turkey a couple of years back, which was also enormous. I've been watching also the rescue operations, which are incredible. Those people are doing such a wonderful job. Hats off to all of them. And the dogs. And did you know that a lot of the dogs are rescue dogs, which have been trained to rescue people, which I think is wonderful. And one of them is called Tsunami. Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. They are incredible animals doing an absolutely horrific job.
But it's inevitable to compare it to the situations with Japan, because Japan for many years have been investing into preparing for the possibility of an earthquake. And you're surprised to see that other countries in similar geographical situation haven't done that. And that you would think that it should have been a priority to make sure that they protect themselves against natural disasters like this. And there's something that we all gonna have to do that, because with climate change, it's likely that we'll have more natural disasters. So it is the time now, rather than try to get more electric cars on the road or recycle your bottles.
AI centres.
You will, or build AI centres. We will need to invest in infrastructure that support potential natural disasters like flooding, fires, that kind of thing, you know, and which would probably, hope not, but probably will be more recurrent, and we're going to have to be prepared for that, as opposed to try to stop it, because I think stopping it is now a waste of time. It's irreversible, and we have to be prepared to be able to survive as communities, as civilization, all of these things that are coming.
The thing is, I think people have taken where we're living for granted. We only have this one planet. There's nobody else. There's nowhere else we're going to go. No matter what Musk says and going up to Mars. If he wants to go, let him go. Please take himself and all his believers with him. However, we down here are stuck on this beautiful planet, and we're destroying it all the time. It is always being, the wildlife is being decimated by wars and natural, as you said, natural occurrences in the whole of the climate, and so on and so forth. We don't understand enough, putting it this way, how we are absolutely ruining everything for ourselves and for the creatures who live on this beautiful world as well.
When did you first start hearing about climate change? I remember
years ago.
I remember in the 80s.
Years ago.
They were talking about climate change, how it would make, people would say that the UK would become the Costa del Hammersmith or whatever. We haven't done anything about it. I mean, I know there've been international summits, regarding climate change. I remember the one in Kyoto. Remember that? They came out with a great idea. The houses should have an energy certificate, and you think, really, that's not going to save the planet? It's compulsory in most countries.
And your appliances also.
Yeah. And your appliances and all of that kind of thing. Has that made any difference? No. So
probably yes.
The effort should have been we all should have jumped into that and should have bought into that, but we didn't. And
the thing you see,
and the end
big,
result,
big oil,
is
fossil fuels.
yeah, and us, because we haven't changed our lifestyles. We have continued to do
more
consuming and using cars and planes and boats and everything. And we as consumers have been wanting to have all these things, and now it's time to pay.
And we're having it thrown at us from each
but
side.
it's not good for one guy to have his vegetable patch and his electric vehicle to save the planet, because they have to be, all of the people on planet Earth to be able to change the lifestyle. And in the Western world, certainly, we, and include myself, we're not prepared to change our lifestyle because we've got accustomed to it and we like it.
Looking at talking about people and so on and what we do, have you seen those massive cruise ships?
Yeah.
The cruise ships.
Yeah, I was in one once. Horrible experience.
I wouldn't want to be on one of them if you paid me.
Well, funny you should mention that.
Oh.
Because, because I've just I've organised because this Orient Express, Louis Vuitton, LVMH and Accor have launched a new Orient Express cruise ship, believe it or not.
Oh, God, not another one.
Shuttling between the French and the Italian Riviera, Orient Express's first giant yacht aims to attract a new class of billionaire, believe it or not. This is, it's set up to revive the 19th century travel brand. The yacht is the first of the two, which will target the ultra-rich, adding to a portfolio of luxury hotels and a yet-to-launch historic art deco train. You're looking at me as if this is your idea, right? I must say, it doesn't look. I mean, it's. They've said. I'm trying to find. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find pictures. But I'll just read through this press release. When you're getting very, very rich, money hasn't got the same meaning. Said. This is from Accor's chief executive Sébastien Bazin. He expects a new pool of billionaires to want to go on this one. Spending on higher experience. You may tut, but for some of us, here, we're billionaires. But I'm not saying in which currency. Spending on high, when you're getting very, very rich, money hasn't got the same meaning. The only thing that's meaning is recognition. Have you become someone? Here we go. This is esoteric for you today, Andreas. Spending on high-end experience is set to grow by 9 to 11% this year, outpacing the 1.4% growth forecast for personal luxury goods. The trend is boosted by tech boom in the US and a large number of so-called ultra-high net worth individuals using private jets, yachts, and increasingly flocking to mega events like F1 racing. When people are very rich and they have 7 homes, 12 cars and 17 watches, they still have a bucket list of things they promised themselves to do before dying. It's not to have an 18th watch, Bazin said in an interview this week. So he's confirmed that Accor and luxury giant LVMH have reciprocal options to buy each other out in the coming years. This is a partnership capturing the booming market for experiences as the luxury goods industry grapples with weak growth for products like handbags, fashion, or watches. You will have on this luxury yacht, you will have a Guerlain. Am I saying that correctly? Guerlain? Thank you. I would have looked at you, Andres, but I thought Ali was probably the same.
Yeah, much better than me.
They have Guerlain, beauty salon, and cognac in the penthouse. So far, the Orient Express's first giant yacht has been at the Cannes Film Festival and the Monaco Grand Prix, 4-day cruise, starting at for 4 days at €25,000. So yeah, I mean, that's super yacht, super cruise. I must say, it doesn't look all that super to me. I mean, a panel you can.
It looks very, very normal.
That looks very, very normal to me.
Very normal.
Yeah, I mean.
You want to see some of my designs, which are an awful lot.
Well, I mean, if you're paying
25,000, I wouldn't.
Yeah, for 4 days there, that looks like that's like yeah. And that's exactly. I would be underwhelmed. I think
very underwhelmed.
Not that I need sort of gold everywhere, because that would be looking like something else. The odious orange, as you put it.
Oh yes.
But yeah, so super rich. You see, there we are. We go from one from the sublime to the ridiculous.
But it's almost become the entertainment for us mortals
To look at
how rich people live. You know, I am fed up with it. I personally don't even look at it anymore.
Does anybody need to be a billionaire? Honestly, what are they going to do with all that money? They're going to die anyway.
But the point is, I don't want to look.
It's true.
I don't want to be looking constantly and how they live. I'm not interested.
No.
It's ridiculous. You know, all you open the papers, you see Ronaldo on a yacht and Messi in some villa in Ibiza.
But always
but it's a constant thing. And now everybody's doing it. I don't have social media, but when I see people looking at social media, all they do is the displays of wannabes living like these people, you know, and it's just like, it's become ridiculous. And if you live in Marbella, you see that walking down the street. You don't need social media. You just walk down the street and see how people are pretending
Mercadona,
to have...
the Mercadona. Yeah. You know the one only a stone's throw from your own luxury apartment. Yeah. Somebody said to me, "What's the greatest thing about living where I grew up in Coeen?" And I said, "You go to the Mercadona in Coeen, and you don't see a Lamborghini, and you don't see plastic surgery." So
in Coeen.
In Coeen.
Oh, very
not
nice.
a lot of Lambos in Coeen.
And you take your girlfriend for dinner to Mercadona. Because that's another one. Let me just tell you, this is a big debate in Spain.
Hello,
you know?
sorry.
Hold on, this is a big debate in Spain. Mercadona, as you would have seen, they have habilitated an area for sitting down.
You can have a coffee and a little thing to eat.
Yeah, so they do their own ready meals there, and then you have an area where you can sit down.
I have seen that, yes.
Well, there is a few organisations.
I thought that was the husband dumping area. I thought that was we're going to Mercadona. You sit there.
I'll take you for lunch to Mercadona, shall I, Alia? But a lot of people have been complaining. The organisations of restaurants and bars and everything complaining that is, you know, irresponsible competition to these outlets because Mercadona have got.
You've actually said, yeah.
Mercadona have got this restaurant area, if you want to call it that, and there's a lot of people complaining about it. There you go. That's a controversy for you, Giles.
Would you like to see the wine list? Yeah, hang on, I just go to aisle 3. But joking aside, darling, I will take you for dinner in Marbella tonight, my darling. It begins with. You're not saying Michelin star. Well, it begins with an M. So yeah, two stories at the back of that. There used to be. There is opposite what used to be the Aris Bank, but is now a rather swanky nightclub. You can there's a petrol station, and you can see the sea from there.
Yes,
yeah,
because you can look straight down all the way down to what used to be La Pesquera, but now is something else. Yeah. And so I once said to a friend of mine, "Shall we have a quick coffee overlooking the sea?" And so I took them there. That was good. And also, friends of mine. They rented a villa in the Marbella Club, which is a very nice thing to have. It was during the times when unfortunately, they had the Marbella Club fridges, the mini bars, have an infrared, right? And their toddler, and you will know this because of the grandkids, their toddler got into the mini bar, right? And decided to play shops, which was great. So they set up all the shop and the whole thing, and that was a very good Joshy, they're very good indeed. And when they came to leave, the mini bar bill was off the scale. And they were like, "But what's going on there?" And then they clocked, because every time that Joshy had taken off to set up his little shop, the minibar was registering. Because it's got infrared, so if you take a bottle of wine out, it thinks you've drunk a bottle of wine. And of course, Joshy was playing shops all day, so he was bringing, Anyway, so I know. That was quite funny.
Oh, yeah,
indeed, yeah. Josh, you were 3 months old and you already had a 15 grand bill at Marbella Club. But we had a very nice evening at the Marbella Grill, like you do. And I said the next day, let me. Therefore, I will repay you by taking to a restaurant less than 500 meters from the Marbella Club. I was like, yeah, no problem at all. We look forward to that, Giles. And the next day, I took them across the road to Venta Los Pacos.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Which was, and they had, and going on about how much do you need. He was a High Court judge. He had the most wonderful time because he was sitting there
with all everybody
had the
normal.
thing of the noise, and it was like, this is what we've come to Spain for. The uncontrolled, the ordered chaos that is basically, and flan, postre, coffee or fruit or flan.
Thrown on your table. And
Yeah. So that's, so you can have your 25 grand for 3 days, a 4 days cruise with what do you talk about as well? Because, because if you think about it, you've got, let's have a moment's silence for Elon Musk, because he became the world's first trillionaire the other week, and then, of course, it crashed, and so he was back to being an everyday billionaire. But what do they talk about to each other?
And
you can't talk to your wife or your girlfriend, because you've already traded that one in for an 18-year-old Estonian whatever. So therefore, I just think I find it incredibly boring, panel.
Thank you very much for throwing that ball there.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
they'll have the things to talk about.
You can talk about how you got your residency.
But I am not interested in what they talk about and what they do, how they spend their money. I don't care. I don't want to know.
Right.
That's
Judy's come in. Obscene. If you have that sort of money, how about considering giving it to just causes? Housing the homeless, curing the sick. Yeah, absolutely.
If you think about there are some billionaires who do a lot of good. Warren Buffett is one of them. Yeah. Taylor Swift is not a billionaire, but she gives away so much money. Mackenzie Scott, who used to be married to Bezos. I know it's Bezos. I call him Bozo.
Okay, you call him what you want.
And there's another one whose name... Oh, Melinda Gates.
Yes.
There you go. They all do so much with their money and give to good causes. But it's the other ones, and there are too many of them, who do absolutely nothing.
Can
no
I go back
libraries,
to my precious
hospitals.
I'm having a Lord of the Rings day today.
No, nothing. Elon Musk was instrumental in getting USAID cut. Now, at the end of that, already the numbers of children and people dying from that has gone up into the millions. And it's estimated that by, I think it's 2030, there will be 14 million people whom he has killed because he got DOG to remove USAID. I mean, why? The man has got so much money, for goodness sake. He could build so many wonderful structures everywhere in the world and help people. No, he wants to go to Mars. Please go to Mars, take everything with you and get out of our lives.
But that's willy waving on a global scale, isn't it? Let's face it.
Sorry?
That's willy waving on a global scale.
Yes, of course it is. I don't think he's got one because he has artificial insemination for all of his
And for those of you debating your breakfast choices this morning, I'd like to apologise for Ali and her porridge comments. Andres?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is not whether they are good and they give to charity and so on, which some of them do. You're absolutely right. Some of them don't, or maybe they do and we don't know about it. It doesn't matter. The real problem, the essence of it, is how can a society like ours allow for individuals to accumulate so much wealth where others cannot have access to running water? That difference is where it puzzles me to say, how is this possible that this guy has got trillions or whatever it is that he's got, and then you go to places where they have to go and run and get buckets of water from a well somewhere.
But I remember having this...
The structure is wrong. The concept is wrong. And we have allowed that to happen, Yeah. I mean, we allowed other things to happen that they shouldn't happen, like wars in half the, countries in the world and that kind of thing. But there's something fundamentally wrong with this structure of the humanity, if you want to call it, where that allows for these big differences to happen. And I'm a liberal, so I really believe that, you should be rewarded for your talent and your effort and everything else. But at the same time, there is no need to accumulate so much wealth and don't give the chance to other people to develop themselves into something better.
It says a lot for you.
It says a lot about the human beings that are not, we are not doing things, or we haven't been doing things the right way for this allowed to happen.
No, absolutely. I was just thinking of the odious orange. Apparently, since the time he's come in this last election, which was rigged as well, he's made something like $8.4 billion in that particular time.
There was a deal yesterday with his family in
Yes, I know, in Kazakhstan.
1.2 billion.
I mean, for goodness sake, it is corruption, as Joe Biden said, on a level which has not been seen in the world.
Well, I think Joe Biden said that. I mean, he could have said sort of anything, couldn't he? But here's the thing. I remember having a conversation in Marbella, one of those, well, pretty big news, and somebody saying to me, you see, the thing is, people don't understand what it's like to be rich, wealthy, Giles, because we have so many things to worry about. Well, if you're not wealthy, then all you've got to worry about is putting food on your table. And that was actually the way that, and I was like, wow, that's an interesting mindset to have. So, excuse me while I play the world's smallest violin, because you're worried about, what watch you should wear today. Going to take a quick break and then back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint
with
Giles Brown.
952 78 4000 into the last 20 minutes or so of this morning's Viewpoint. Of this morning's Viewpoint. If you wish to get involved with this morning's Viewpoint, somebody just sent me a picture of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who paused during a recent visit to Downing Street to say hello to Larry the cat. Nice to know that Larry the cat is actually still up and running.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that after the recent political term, I think Larry the cat should be maybe voted in. Let me know what you think about that. 952 78 4000 being the phone number, studio@tre.radio. Yes, now I'm getting Larry the cat memes. Thank you so much indeed for all those. Larry the cat is mad for it, as the Mancunians would say. To the lines we go. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi, Giles. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Were you trying to get through earlier?
Yes.
So you are the smash robot then, are you?
Yeah. The trouble is, I've got hearing aids, and sometimes they interfere with my voice going out.
Right. No, it sounded a bit. It was very much sort of Jimi Hendrix at Monterey at the Isle of Wight Festival.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but there you go. I think I've found a way of fixing it, because now I'm talking to you with my hearing aid in.
Right, okay.
It's working. Okay, now the point I was going to make is that it's a bit late now, but we're talking about this 1.3 million who have been allowed to become legalised in Spain. Of course, there has been a system for the last 25 years that if a person was here 3 years illegally and could prove they were working and didn't get any criminal record, they also could apply to become legal. So the new one is just like an update on the old one.
Says Andres.
Not quite. You're right that if you can prove that you've been here for a number of years,
2 years now. 2 years now.
But this particular scheme that we're talking about, it was a one-off scheme for people who've been here. Don't quote me on the dates, but I think it was they can prove they've been in the country for a year, maybe two, up to certain date. Which I think it was end of December. And those people would have a one-off amnesty, if you like, so they could apply for a kind of work permit and residency for a period of time that is renewable. Right. So basically, there was a pocket of people that were in limbo, but they were illegal in the country, unable to do anything legally, i.e. they would have to work in the black market, and they wouldn't be able to open like simple things like a bank account or sign up rental housing or whatever. And with this amnesty, what happens to them is that they become normal citizens where they can be employed, they can open a bank account, they can have, sort of a track record to be basically being in the system as opposed to out of the system.
Am I able to interrupt you on that? The situation for those that were here 3 years, which was then reduced to 2 years, was exactly that. It was exactly the same. But if they'd been here because they changed the rules for 3 years, working, couldn't be legally working technically because they were illegally here. And if they could prove that they hadn't had any criminal record and they were registered on the Padron during that time, they could then obtain registration in exactly the same way as this 1.3 million had done it. It's just that they could do it in, I think it was about 3 months or something, up to the end of December. but they just changed that rule slightly. But the 3-year thing has applied since 2011.
I would have to look into that, to be honest. I don't want to say yes or no to it. If you've looked into that and you're correct, yes, you are correct. The difference is, I imagine, is that with the previous ruling from 2011, it would have been a trickle of cases as opposed to in a period of 2-3 months to have 0 to 1.3 million. That's where I think that's where the problem is.
Those 1.3 million who have just applied, if they'd stayed here for 3 years, over that period of 3 years, they would have becoming eligible to become legalised anyway.
I'm not 100% sure you're right on that, John. Well, listen, if I'm wrong, I'll give you credit and whatever. But I'm not. I don't think it was so easy to do that, because otherwise there wouldn't have been any need to create this one-off amnesty for these people, because the government could have turned around and said, oh, well, okay, let's the natural cause, let them sort of legalize when they can. So it wouldn't make sense if what you say is right. But as I said, I would have to look into that in detail.
Yeah, but hang on. I've actually assisted quite a number of people who were going through that route when I was working as a volunteer at the police station. So it is absolutely correct.
Okay, as I said, I can't.
You're not aware of it, but what I'm saying is that it is correct. So therefore, listeners know that since 2011, people who are here illegally, who strangely, and I could never understand that why, they could prove they were working illegally, could then become legal. There's always been like that weird situation in Spain. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks for the call in there, John. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. studio@tre.radio is the email. In fact, I'll do this.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
952 78 4000 is the phone number. That's call coming up on TRE Talk Radio. Your voice in Spain.
The Remix, a recap of the best interviews of the week.
I always find that people's purpose is to make money, just money and fame.
I didn't want to have to leave that just so that I could be out as a lesbian, or so that I could with people who understand that women should be allowed to drive if they want to.
The philosophical question is usually, do we have free will or not? I would rather say yes, of course we do, in the sense that we have some capacity for behavioral control, but it's constrained by things.
The Remix, a recap of the best interviews of the week. Tune in Saturdays and Sundays from 2 p.m. on TRE.
Parachuting at that time was not for the faint-hearted. Even so, the pilot overshoots the landing slightly and she ends up stuck in a tree.
On Let's Talk, we discuss politics, history, crime, sport.
She can hear people moving around, and your first thought is going to be, are they Gestapo? Are they local French?
But there's always time for a good laugh.
But luckily, a man comes around to greet her, who's in fact part of the resistance. And his line is brilliant. I wish all French trees bore such fine fruit at this time of year.
Join me, Giles Brown, on Let's Talk weekdays from 10 a.m, except Tuesdays, here on TRE.
And she basically tells him to F off. And that she wants
Get me out of this bloody tree, mate.
Exactly, yeah.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And good morning to Elizabeth listening in Brighton. Good to have you with us. Dee said, morning again. Westminster Council have renamed a section of the Bayswater Road opposite the Russian Embassy, Kiev Road. Well done. Well done indeed. Well played. Chapeau to the Westminster Council. Andreas, you were going to say something? We just...
No, I'm just telling Alia off
okay.
about... I've got a friend who
well done.
had a boyfriend.
Well done,
We're talking about the Mercadona restaurant or Mercadona area.
Oh, yeah, we're still back to that.
But many years ago, these boyfriend used to take her to the canteen in the hospital because the menu there was very cheap. She left him.
I remember going to the opening of Hospiten down there back in the day when they were one of the first places to have an MRI scan of the whole thing. And the then mayor, who obviously was banged up for corruption somewhat later because Hayes a mayor, and we had this thing, we were being sent around, and it was all very health and the whole bit. And then we went to the restaurant or the cafe, and they were serving, manchego cheese, ham on serrano, beer, and everybody was smoking cigars outside. And you just thought, that is the right. Having said that, on the other side of the coin, Health House / Dunas, I remember going to, which is where the Liverpool squad used to train all the time when they were down here. They used to hang out there, and we went to an opening there, which used to be Las Dunas, which used to be a 5-star place, and then it became a health place. And I went with the lovely Steph, and there was no booze at all. It was all cucumber juice and all the tappers weren't tappers there. And the look of shock on the assembled guest and press. What do you mean, no cava? And I got shouted at for going to the ice cave with my shoes on. I was just like, you can't go in the ice cave. Well, I'll get wet feet, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, that was that was cheap cafes that you can go to. But yes, and the Incasol one, we went to the Incasol once for a thing, and the food was so bad, we reckon it was part of their marketing plan to get you sick, so you had to go to the Incasol.
But I have to say something about Incasol. I was taken very ill in Switzerland. I had pernicious anemia and nearly died on the operating theatre. And then I went down with Hans for 2 weeks to the Incasol, way back.
Yes.
And they could not have been better. I was looked after magnificently. The food was delicious. I loved the pool, which was inside, outside.
Yeah.
We swam through. I had an absolutely incredible stay for 2 weeks down there. But that was then.
I mean, this was 99 when I was there, and they've revamped it since then.
78.
78.
Going back to 78.
Blimey.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Well, I was just saying, I went to this function. It was that bad. Andres?
That was very interesting.
Okay, fine. Back after this.
Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
The last 10 minutes of this morning's Viewpoints, if you want to get involved. Looking at some of the... there was one of the horror. I know I'm not going to go on to steal, but one of the horror stories of several of Venezuela is the fact that there were 140 Venezuelans deported from the States on the Wednesday, and they put them in this hotel, and the hotel collapsed. Yeah. And they're still looking. I mean, just appalling as well. And again, we're looking at the 250th anniversary of the US being found. Yeah, I know, Alia. I know, but. It's perhaps it's a British thing, Andres, stand to attention. Perhaps it's a British thing, but when we have, when we had, and I'm going to go back to 77 now, and the Queen's Silver Jubilee, we all got mugs. We had free school milk, and it was silver bottle tops of the Queen's. You see, remembering that, and it's the coronation, etc. The Brits were having that, the celebrations. And I think it was in the States. I was in the States in 78, which would have been the 175th anniversary of the founding of America. And that was a big sort of, this was during the time of Lynyrd Skynyrd and Toto had just come out and hold the line. And people got behind this in 78 in the States. So it begs the question, here we are now, with this situation in the States now, and apart from this sort of UFC cage fighting match on the lawn of the White House. Yeah, I know. You only didn't get an invite, but this should be a time of celebration where you would hope that they'd be able to put all political differences aside, because America has has been the torchbearer for democracy historically for a very long time, and yet it now falls on this particular on the 47th president of the United States. And I can see you riling up from here. You're not going to say you're just going to...
I have got nothing against America, in spite of all the things that I say. I've got nothing against the country. I've been many, many times. I have many friends there. I've got family there. I have everything against the present administration. and the one the first term of his, and especially the second term of his. Because of these people, look at the destruction which has happened all over the world. And it is absolutely horrendous. What I saw the other day with this 250th anniversary, the big state fair, there was about 20 people, and some awful woman singing on it because he couldn't get any of the so-called highliners to go on and so forth. It's empty. It's absolutely empty. People were walking out of a speech where he was rambling. I'm not even going to mention his name. Rambling on for hours and hours, and you could see videos of people walking out. This is the mess that this man and his administration have left the country and the world. And that's why I rail against everything. Like railing against the machine.
So apart from that, what has Trump done to you? No, I'm joking. No, I think these celebrations are very well and good. As you said, the Jubilee and all the celebrations in the UK when the Queen was there. I remember one year, I can't remember the episode, but I remember there was golden scene. Yeah, there was concerts and it was all very nice, very
joyous,
very patriotic, which is very nice. The United States had a tradition of being very patriotic, and now all that has got different connotations. It's not the same patriotism there was before, all united front kind of thing. No. And I think in the UK we'll probably end up being... In Spain, we don't have that. We've never had that since the death of Franco, because all these celebrations tend to end up being institutional celebrations. So there's commemoration in Congress or in a royal palace or that kind of thing, where all the dignitaries go there and they have a mini banquet or whatever. But they're not street parties like you see in the UK. No. We don't have that kind of celebration. I don't understand it. I'm not that patriotic in the sense that I like to display, the flags and my love for the country or anything else. It's just like something I don't feel it. I don't do it. And a lot of Spanish people are the same. That's why they're not massive celebrations. I'm surprised that for what you say, if following what you say, because I have no evidence of that, but I'm surprised that the Americans are not celebrating as much. Or these.
It was 76, by the way. I've been pulled up, by the way. It was the bicentennial.
Americans were the ultimate patriots, weren't they? They love their country and the USA kind of, and for what you're saying, is not the case anymore.
Listen, it's not the land of the free. Forget it. That is right out of the window. And bring me your brave and so on and so forth. That's also out of the window, because we are seeing the depth of corruption and stink behind the whole of that institution. And it's not just we looking in from the outside, it's the people finally having their eyes opened inside. It's all right to be patriotic. Nothing against that whatsoever. Don't ram it down my throat, like religion. Don't do that. Believe what you want. Don't get it down my throat. But this is a malaise which the Americans have, that they think that they're always the best, they're always doing this. And it's not. They have been found now, finally, they've got their eyes open, because how many people have been commenting that things outside of the country are much better than what they are inside of the country. King Charles summed it up beautifully in a speech when he was at the state banquet. He was talking about the 250th celebration, and then looked very wryly at the odious orange and said, or as we say, just the other day.
Yeah. Indeed. I love my country, I'm a proud American, but this version of the celebration does not feel like it's about America, but instead a celebration of Trump.
There you go.
Yeah, when you try to appropriate the celebrations like that's wrong, because it should be a celebration for everyone, and a kind of uniting people in that sense. But I think slowly we're going to lose that kind. The way society is at the moment, so polarized, you are likely to be losing that kind of feeling that people have or had before.
Look at the patriotism, actually, talking about all of this, that the public in the UK show immense. When it had the Diamond Jubilee, the Gold Jubilee, and so on and so forth, and the outpouring of fun which happens, but
the British are very patriotic. That's something that has always surprised me. They are very patriotic. They love the country. They think the country is wonderful. They've got a magnificent royal family. You can't fault the royal family to anyone British, or the majority. It surprises me because you can be picky with the whole thing, with the country, with the systems, with the royal family or whatever. But in general, look, put it this way, I would rather live in London or Washington than live in Moscow or Beijing.
Just a tad.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you could pull it apart, but in general, they are good countries. You can enjoy your freedom and everything else. So, of course, there are going to be things that you don't like because of these, because of that, whether it's the political system, whether it's the current president or administration. But there's only the current president and administration that in 4 years' time, or whenever it is, they won't be there and there'll be another one. And you might but you have to look at a more global view than just pinpoint in time that you don't like this particular administration, should you dislike the country. It doesn't work like that. The country's still the same, the people's still the same, and you could apply that to other countries. I don't want to mention any more controversial names, but yeah, I mean, you could say from any country. The display of patriotism, that's a different thing. That some countries have got that more than others, and the UK and the United States have been always traditionally, the people have been more patriotic and they like to display that patriotism. They love it.
Right then, almost out of time. It's been my pleasure and privilege to bring you this morning's Viewpoint. Just a quick one. At the end of the poll, do we think Andy Burnham's plans for devolution of powers in the UK is a viable option? Yes, 40% of you. 60% of you think no, in terms of the whether Burnham's plans for devolution of powers in the UK is a viable option. My thanks to my guests once again, who have been the lovely Alia Babapoule.
My pleasure, as always.
And as always, Andres, before he hits the courts, Andres Gallardo. Andres, thanks today.
Thank you very much, John. I expect breakfast next Tuesday.
Indeed.
As well.
This show's going to be repeated at 12 o'clock. At 6 o'clock. I'll be back with Let's Talk after this.
The views expressed on Viewpoint by invited studio guests and callers do not constitute an opinion endorsed in any way by Talk Radio Europe.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this program, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.